Good morning. My name is Steve Luce, and I am this morning's Land Use Hearing Officer. Welcome to the February 9th, 2026 LUHO hearing. And before we get started, if we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. You may be seated. At this point in time, I'd like to introduce Colleen Marshall from the Development Services Department, who will introduce other staff members and go over any changes to this morning's agenda. Colleen?
Good morning. Colleen Marshall, Development Services. To my left is Mary Dorman of the Hillsborough County County Attorney's Office. During the course of the hearing, a number of other staff planners will be presenting their findings for various cases and we introduce for each item. There's one change to the published agenda, agenda page 6, item H4, variance 260296. This item is a site development variance request and should have been within section F on the agenda. Therefore, item H4 is being moved to item F1 on the agenda.
Okay. Does that mean we're going to hear that one first, or?
Yes.
Okay. Got it. All right, I have a few instructions to read into the record, and the county attorney office representative has a few instructions to read into the record, and then we'll get started with this morning's agenda items. Our hearing consists of agenda items that require a public hearing by the land use hearing officer. I will conduct a hearing on each agenda item and will file a decision within 15 working days after the conclusion of today's hearing. Our hearing will be informal. I will ask questions related to the scope of direct testimony. I may call and question witnesses as I deem appropriate, and I will decide all questions of procedure. I will take evidence, but will exclude evidence that is irrelevant, immaterial, or unduly repetitious. Evidence may be presented in written form, and all testimony must be under oath. Hearsay evidence may be used to supplement or explain other evidence, but shall not be sufficient alone to support a finding by me unless it would be admissible over objections in a civil action. Now I'll go over the order of presentations. For the variances, Development Services staff will present their findings. They have 5 minutes for that purpose. Then the applicant presents their variance request, and they have a total of 15 minutes for that purpose. Then anyone in the audience who wishes to speak in support, there's a total of 15 minutes for that purpose. Then anyone in the audience who wishes to speak in opposition, they have 15 minutes for that purpose. Then Development Services may come back and ask for any changes or provide additional comments. They have 5 minutes. And finally, the applicant has 5 minutes for rebuttal. We have 2 special uses on this morning's agenda. In that case, the applicants go first and they have 15 minutes to present their case. Then Development Services presents their staff report and they have 5 minutes. Then the Planning Commission, I don't think the Planning Commission is here today, but so we'll skip over that part. All right, and then those in the audience that wish to speak in support have 15 minutes in total. Then those in the audience that wish to speak in opposition have 15 minutes total. Then Development Services has 5 minutes for additional comments. And finally, the applicant has 5 minutes for rebuttal. Regarding the time for proponents and opponents, the 15-minute time frame is the total time for each category. If there are a number of people to speak, we will add up the total number of people, and the 15 minutes will be divided as equally as possible. You may wish to designate a single spokesperson to more efficiently use the time. When you come to the podium to speak, please start by giving your name and address for the record. The meeting is being recorded, and we want to make sure we accurately document who is speaking on the record. When you are done speaking, please sign in with the clerk's office with your name, address, and the application number of the agenda item you are speaking to. The sign-in pad is at the end of the podium here. If you could raise your hand, that's where you sign in. At this point in time, the County Attorney's Office will now provide legal requirements for appealing a decision made by the Land Use Hearing Officer.
Good morning. This is Mary Dorman from the County Attorney's Office. This Land Use Hearing Officer public hearing is for variance and special use requests. This is the time for interested parties to present evidence and testimony. Once the Land Use Hearing Officer has closed a case, the record of that case is also closed, and no new evidence regarding that case may be submitted thereafter. Any decision by the Land Use Hearing Officer may be appealed to the Land Use Appeals Board. Should a decision of the Land Use Hearing Officer be appealed, the record evidence, including the testimony presented at this public hearing, shall be the only evidence that is subject to review by the Land Use Appeals Board. In reaching a final decision on petitions, the Land Use Appeals Board will only consider the decision of the Land Use Hearing Officer and the record evidence, including any evidence from this public hearing. If an appeal is filed, the Land Use Appeals Board hearing shall consist of oral argument by the party appealing the decision, county staff, and any interveners, each of whom may be represented by legal counsel. The following shall have standing to appeal a decision of the Land Use Hearing Officer or to intervene in an appeal. 1, the applicant, or 2, anyone who appeared before the Land Use Hearing Officer, presented testimony or other evidence, and is adversely affected by the decision of the Land Use Hearing Officer. It is the role of the County Attorney's Office to ensure that no new evidence or testimony is allowed before the Land Use Appeals Board that was not presented to the Land Use Hearing Officer at today's hearing. The County Attorney will recommend that the Land Use Appeals Board disregard evidence or testimony that is outside the record made at today's public hearing. Any evidence presented to the Land Use Appeals Board that is outside the record created today, I'm struggling today. Created at today's hearing could jeopardize the legality of the Land Use Appeals Board decision, and the presenter of that evidence could hurt their own cause. The safest course of action, then, is for you to write down any comments you make today and repeat them to the Land Use Appeals Board.
Okay, thank you. All testimony must be provided under oath. Therefore, if you plan to speak, please stand and raise your right hand. I'll swear you in. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Okay, thank you. You may be seated. Okay, with that, that concludes all of our instructions for this morning's hearing. Ms. Marshall, we're ready for the first case.
On today's agenda, we have no vested rights, fee waivers, remands, or reconsideration requests, which brings us to Section F, Site Development Variance Requests. Item F1, Variance 260296. The applicants are Julieta Rendon and Pedro Morales. The request is a variance to encroach into the wetland setback. Staff findings will be presented by Wayne Doyen.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning, Wayne Doyen, Development Services. This is variance application 26-0296. Request summary. The applicant is requesting a variance from the 30-foot wetland conservation area setback requirement, section 4.0107. Point B, point 4 of the Land Development Code. The applicant's specific request, as shown in the site plan submitted on 12/3/2025, is to allow for encroachment for a portion of a commercial two-story building, concrete sidewalk with handrails and asphalt vehicle use area and embankment to be within the 30-foot wetland conservation area setback. Requested variance LDC section 4.0107, point B, point 4, LEC requirement, no filling, excavating, or placement of permanent structures or other impervious surfaces shall be allowed within the required 30-foot wetland conservation area setback. Variance 22.9-foot max encroachment for a portion of the commercial two-story building, a concrete sidewalk with handrails, and an asphalt vehicle use area and embankment in the wetland conservation area setback. Result, 7.1-foot remaining setback. Findings: 1, a wetland setback compensation plan has been provided on the site plan dated 12/3/2025, which provides compensation plannings for the encroachment into the wetland conservation area setback and will be reviewed under project number 7684. 2, approval of this variance petition by Hillsborough County does not constitute a guarantee that the Environmental Protection Commission of Hillsborough County, EPC, approvals and permits necessary for the development as process will be issued, does not itself serve to justify any impacts to wetlands, and does not grant any implied or vested right to environmental approvals.
Okay. All right, thank you, but I did look through the staff report and in optics. I couldn't find the wetland planting plan. Is that something you have on you?
I do. It should have been part of the staff report.
Okay, maybe it's there, but I didn't see it. Could you know how to use that, Elmo, or I don't know if that's operable, just so I could take a look at it.
Turn it on. Okay, like that. Okay.
All right, so can you zoom in on that?
One day I don't bring my glasses.
Okay.
All right, you see the area, the black outlined area along the wetland where the different plants are associated? Oh, okay. Do you see on the left-hand side of the page, the black outline area?
Yes.
That's where the wetland plantings
Okay.
will be.
All right. And I think all that writing on the right, is that the listing of plants? If you could,
Yes, that will be for the whole project.
Okay.
But everything's going to be reviewed under the construction plans.
Right.
But this was just how they're presenting it to us. There is a portion on the right-hand table that does say it should say wetland.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't read that.
Yeah, all right. Well, actually, because you blew it up,
Yep.
it's really small scale, and
Yes.
I do have it.
Okay.
So I will go back and look at that in greater detail.
Okay, sir.
And I understand which site plan it is.
Okay, sir.
All right. I have no other questions, so thank you.
No problem.
Okay, and the applicant, please.
Is there a way to plug in a USB? Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I do, yeah, it'd be easier to see on here than it would be. Good morning. Chris Mears with Native Engineering, 18856 North Dale Mabry Highway in Lutz, Florida.
Okay.
I'm going to present some information on the screen. Rather than using the Elmo, it'd probably be a little clearer. It is it's the PDF. This is final. The one this is. Is that a PDF? Yeah, okay. Thank you. So I'm just going to go through some slides here just to make it clear on what we're proposing and kind of the process we've been through.
Okay.
This is an aerial of the site. It's on the north side of Rodine Road, just west of Balm Riverview Road. So the project includes the construction of a two-story, 8,000 square foot total professional office building. We're using retaining wall. If you can see my mouse here. We're using a retaining wall and stem wall on the north side of the building to limit our encroachment into the wetland setback, as well as a wall along the pond and on the north side of the pond. North is to the left on this drawing here. Obviously, we have additional supporting infrastructure such as vehicular use area, dumpster, and utilities. The project had a wetland determination done by EPC. It was reviewed on 4/2/24, and then they accepted the survey on 5/2/24. We started the project shortly after this. Wetland line is shown here in the bold line there, with the setback just to the west. We started off with an initial concept of the project. The applicant was trying to maximize their square footage, and we knew that, so we put together this initial concept showing what our intended or our initial impacts might be. You can see that we were significantly encroaching into the wetland. As we started the design, we did our best to try to get as much out of the wetland as possible. On the north side of the project is our stormwater retention area. We had 0 setbacks on the east side, so we were proposing to be right up against the property line, essentially about a foot off or so of the property line to the east. As we started the design, obviously the pond was modified slightly. We weren't showing walls at this time. We had done some initial coordination with the county and gone through our pre-sub meeting. Then we made our initial submittal to EPC. You'll see that the difference here is we split the single building into two separate buildings, still trying to get our 8,000 square feet. So we had two 4,000 square foot buildings. This diagram shows pond wall around the entire pond. However, county code does not allow us to do that. We can only have a maximum of 50% of the pond can be walled if it's dry and 25% if it's wet. With this initial plan that we submitted to EPC, you can see that there's a significant amount of wetland impact that we had proposed. That area is shown here in red, with the encroachment into the wetland setback here in green. Due to the wetland impacts, EPC would not approve this plan. They asked us to exhaust all efforts to minimize encroachment into the wetlands. So we went back to the drawing board and did everything we could to reduce the impacts to the wetland as well as the wetland setback. One of the options that the EPC presented to us was just go through anything you can to reduce setbacks or buffers. And so we looked at the possibility of reducing and requesting a reduction of the 30-foot building setback along Rodine. We also looked at a possible variance to reduce the landscape buffer along the west side of the property. It's difficult to see in this drawing, but we have a slight swale here on the west side of the property to redirect runoff from the west side. Again, north is to the left here. From the west side, that would flow through the property and into the wetland. And so we could channel it along this west side and directly down to the wetland. With this exhibit and this design, we also had impacts to the FEMA floodplain. The floodplain line is shown with this jagged dark line that's here. So obviously we'd have to mitigate for that impact to the floodplain. Due to the timing of how long this typically takes to go through the variance process for wetland setbacks and landscape buffers, we requested the owner reconsider single-story buildings and maybe go to the two-story building. So we wound up with this concept, which is the current plan. This is what was submitted. You probably have the wetland or this site plan and the wetland setback or the wetland impact plan, sorry, of this concept or this plan. We were able to get the entire project out of the wetlands. We have a retaining wall along the north side of the pond. Again, we proposed retaining wall and stem wall along the east side of the building. And again, what this does is just gets us completely out of the wetland. At that point in time, we sent back to EPC, and they were very happy with this plan. They gave us approval. Essentially, they indicated we're exempt from the permitting process through EPC. Here's an email from EPC indicating that the revised plan does not have any wetland impacts, so they requested we withdraw the application, which we did. Here's just a zoomed-in plan of showing the green line, which is the wetland line, and the setback line, which is blue. I'll reiterate in the code that portions of stormwater, infrastructure such as walls are allowed within that wetland setback. I just wanted to highlight that from the code. So we looking back at this drawing, we do have a pond wall here that we're not claiming as encroachment only because it's stormwater pond related. So this is our paving, grading, and drainage plan of the current plan. I'll zoom in here. This shows the encroachment area of roughly 1,800 square feet. And that's what we're requesting the variance from. Obviously, the building and sidewalk encroaches in, and then the embankment needed to support the vehicular use area is going to slightly encroach into the setback. And so we're just showing where that harmonizing slope would tie in. This is the current landscape plan. I can zoom in if you need me to. I believe if you are interested in seeing the plantings, I have a hard copy if you'd like to see that. It might be a little more zoomed in than the copy you have, but again, we're, like county staff had said. You could
just submit the planting plan. You said you have a hard copy of it?
I do. It's letter size, so it may not be great, but
okay. Well, just, if you could leave a copy with the clerk,
Sure.
and I'll get a copy of it.
I'll give you a copy of this slide.
Okay.
I will point out that we did have an environmental assessment and listed species survey done by Merriman Environmental. I highlighted some key points, and that native vegetation accounts for roughly 5%, or approximately 0.05 acres of the 1 acre piece of property. So roughly the other 95% is altered or exotic and nuisance vegetation. Also, no animals on the listed species table, which I've included in this presentation, were observed on the site. This is an excerpt from the environmental assessment. You can see a lot of this is open area. And again, the building avoids impacts into the wetlands, just into the setback, which again, a lot of this is somewhat open space, tall grasses. These are some pictures of the site from various viewpoints. This image just shows the types of plants, exotic plants, and some of the wetland plants that were observed. In addition, some of the species that were observed or possibly present within the site. And this is the listed species of wildlife that may occur on the site, and any of them that you know, are listed or endangered, obviously absent for all these species. That concludes my presentation.
Okay, and with respect to the variance and the planting mitigation plan, I don't know where you are in the site development process. I think you said you've got it signed off on by EPC?
EPC agreed that we didn't need to proceed with wetland
Right.
permitting
Okay.
and mitigation for the wetland.
Right.
We are kind of on a holding pattern until we get
Okay.
this variance approved, assuming we
Right.
do, before we resubmit back to the county.
Okay, but about the landscaping section of development services, have they reviewed your planting plan?
They won't until we resubmit this plan back to them.
Okay, all right. So just stand there for a minute. Let me ask staff.
Sure.
Colleen, is the planting plan that they submitted, if I condition the approval with the planting plan, will that be a problem or tie your hands moving forward?
If it's just, no, well, if they're agreeing to those plantings at a minimum, then it wouldn't be an
Okay.
issue. We would just, the natural resources staff would
All right, so I could give
review
a little
in
bit of
compliance with that.
like, these are the minimum plantings, and from there, you could elaborate further maybe, but there's a minimum standard that would be met.
Yes, we're meeting that minimum standard.
Okay,
To our knowledge, we're meeting that minimum standard per their code. Obviously, they'll have to review it.
no, what I'm getting at is that your mitigation planting plan. I'd like to condition this case to what you submitted, and then if staff wants to add anything more through the site development process, they would be free to work with you on anything more, but I will have at least a standard, limited standard that you'll have to meet, if that makes sense.
Wayne Doyen, Natural Resources.
Okay.
I've already been over this with the review manager. What they've submitted to me for this variance process is the minimum, and it will be required on the plans.
Okay, and the mitigation, you know what I'm getting at? the
Yes, sir.
mitigation
Yep,
plan.
yep. The mitigation plannings
All right.
will be at the minimum what they've listed on this
All right.
plan. It could
Good.
be more,
Right,
but it'll be the minimum what's on here,
All
what
right.
they already submitted.
all right, and the applicant, just put on the record that you are okay with and support at least the minimum planting requirements that are on your plan at this point in time, and you could live with those moving forward.
Yes, sir, we do. Natural
So I
Resources.
want the
Oh, you want
applicant to
the-
answer
okay.
that question.
Yes, which is why we put it on the plan. Yeah,
All right.
we understood what the minimum requirements
Right.
were.
You're committing to it.
We're committing to it.
All right.
Yes.
All right, thank you, and Colleen, thank you. I'm good.
Okay, thank
All right,
you.
Thank you. All right, at this point in time, is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak in support of the application? See no one responding. Anyone in the audience wish to speak in opposition to the application? I see no one responding. Staff, anything further?
Nothing further. Thank you.
Okay. And the applicant, an opportunity for rebuttal. No need for rebuttal. With that, that concludes this application, and Ms. Marshall, we're ready for the next item.
There are no sign variance requests, which brings us to section H, variance
Sir, we need you
request.
to come sign in with us, please.
Item H1, variance 260227. The applicant is Matthew Remsen. The request is a variance to lot development standards. Staff findings will be presented by Sam Dahl.
Okay? Good morning.
Hey, guys. Good morning. Sam Ball with Hillsborough County Development Services. The applicant is requesting a variance to lot development standards, which would allow a staircase to remain within a required southwestern side yard setback on an AR zone property located at 9809 Harold Bedford Road. The minimum side yard setback for AR zoning is 25 feet. The LDC section 613I2 allows for the stairs to encroach up to 3 feet into a side yard setback. The applicant is requesting a 12-foot increase to the allowable encroachment into the required yard setback, which would result in a staircase having a 10-foot setback from the southwestern property boundary. I would like to add that the property has an atypical configuration with access from John Robbins Road, the right-of-way through multiple easements, and based on the shape of the property and the means of access, the front of the property is oriented towards the southeast, the sides are towards the southwest and northeast, and the rear is towards the northwest. Development Services issued a determination of nonconformity review for this property under application DNC 25998, which resulted in the approval of a legal nonconforming lot and the approval of a residential structure and the attached deck. However, the location of the staircase was specifically excluded from the approval of the nonconforming structure, which is what we're here for today. That concludes my presentation, if you have any questions.
Yes, my first question is why was the staircase excluded from the DNC approval?
Because it didn't meet the setbacks. We were able to approve the deck and the structure based on what the practice at the time. Originally what happened was when the house was built, it looked like the stairs came off the front of the house, and then over time it was shifted to the side. And so we were able to basically disassociate the staircase from the rest of the house and the deck.
So, if you could walk me through the DNC, let's start with the side of the property, right? It's zoned AR. It's a 5-acre lot requirement, right?
Correct.
Right, and they're 1.29 acres. And how did we get to the point where they're asking for a variance?
Well, from what I understand, and the applicant can speak to this, I believe they were renovating the house or basically trying to bring the house back up, and it was caught during the building review.
Okay. All right, so somebody caught it.
Idiot.
Says, you don't have the right lot size, so that's why they submitted the DNC?
That is correct.
Okay, to address really lot size, but you also recognize the house itself and the patio, the deck, right? But not the stairs.
Correct. We were, and we had several staff discussions on the matter, and that was the conclusion that we came up with.
Okay. And my second question is that I took a look at the survey, and it's a survey that was done in 2021, and I think the applicant, I don't think the surveyor, I think the applicant added a dimension regarding the distance from the stairs to the property line, and they put 10 feet. And it's not at the corner, the closest point to the property line. So what happens if it's not 10 feet? It looks like it's about 7 feet, if I had to, I guess.
And I had this conversation with the applicant that from based on, just looking at it, didn't appear to be 10 feet. And we went over this, and basically at the end of this conversation, it was that if it's not 10 feet and there's ever a dispute in the future, then they would have to revisit this.
It's pretty clear that it's not 10 feet.
Right, and I had this.
So they're going to get to the next step, and will they get their permit?
Right, so I'm not sure if how the stairs were drawn onto this survey, if the surveyor drew them on there, or if someone else drew them on there, but whenever we had the discussion about it, he'll be able to talk about it too,
Right.
but no, he assured me that there was 10 feet, regardless of how the sketch is drawn, so.
I guess he could proceed at his own risk, right?
That is essentially the case.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, the applicant, please.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I have some photos of the stairs and
Please state your name and address for the record.
good morning. My name is Matthew Remsen. I'm the owner of property before you today, 9809 Harold Bedford Road, Riverview, Florida, 33578. And I'm requesting a variance to allow an existing staircase to project 15 feet into the required side yard where 3 feet is currently permitted. The results in the staircase being located 10 feet from the side property line. The home was constructed in 1988 and is elevated approximately 16 feet above grade. Since its original construction, the porch and staircase have remained in the same location and configuration. Over the years, only routine maintenance has been performed, such as replacing deteriorated wood for safety purposes. No expansion or relocation of the structure has occurred. Due to the height of the home, the staircase is an essential component for safe access. Its location was intentionally selected to accommodate the elevation while minimizing environmental disturbance to the surrounding property. The site is heavily wooded and environmentally sensitive, and relocating the staircase would require additional clearing and grading. The hardship in this case is unique to the property. The significant elevation of the home is not a condition shared by most other properties in the area. Relocating the stairs to comply strictly with the setback would either eliminate the primary entrance or place it in a location that is unsafe or impractical, particularly for family members with medical limitations. Granting the variance will not adversely impact neighboring properties. The home is located in a secluded area with no nearby residences within approximately 1,000 feet. The adjacent land along the side yard is a protected forested area along Bullfrog Creek and is not subject to development. The staircase is private, produces no noise or traffic, and does not affect public services or infrastructure. This request is consistent with the intent of the Land Development Code and the comprehensive plan. It allows for reasonable and safe use of an existing home while preserving the natural environment and maintaining the character of the area. The variance represents the minimum relief necessary to maintain safe access without expanding or intensifying use of the property. Finally, this is not a self-created hardship. The staircase has existed in its current location since the home was built, and the request is solely to allow continued maintenance of an existing structure. And for these reasons, I respectfully request approval of the variance. Thank you.
Okay, and sir, if you could add any comments regarding the conversation I just had with staff, is that it appears that your staircase is closer than 10 feet from your property line.
Well, I have, I measured it at 10 feet. It's hard to really determine exactly where it is. It's specifically because of the fence. So I know my neighbor has installed the fence, and I measured to the fence as well. But also, I have dually trucks that are 8 feet wide, and I can get my truck in and out fine through between the stairs. I've done it before, so that's why so when I talked to him, I didn't think much about the 7 feet because of that reason why. And now that I'm aware of it, or more, how serious it is, I wish I took better measurement. But really, that's my whole idea was it's close enough to where I can get my big trucks back and
Okay.
forth, so,
All right, you've asked for a variance for 10 feet, and that's what I will consider, right?
yes.
But in the event that you go to the next step after the variance, and you're in the process of, I think you're remodeling your home or doing changes, and you're in for permitting, somebody may want to know what the distance is from your property line to that stairway. And if it's less than 10 feet, you're in the same dilemma that you are today. So if you feel absolutely 100% sure that that's at least 10 feet, then I don't think you have a problem.
Okay.
But if it is less than 10 feet, you may have an issue. You may not get your permits.
Okay.
Okay, I just want you to be perfectly clear that you are proceeding at your own risk.
Well, what would happen? I would have to come back and repeat all of this again?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm just wondering, do I have to reapply and pay the fine again, or pay the fee again? Or could I measure it and come back next month, or how's it work?
Yes, you could continue today, this morning,
Okay,
go out there and measure it,
okay,
and confirm what that distance is. And now Colleen Marshall may have some issues about procedures and notifications and that sort of thing. But from my perspective, that's what I want you to do.
Okay.
Just make sure your distance is right. She may have more information about, rather than coming back in 6 months, she may have something that maybe you can't come back next month, but maybe the month after.
okay.
So Colleen, I don't know how quickly he could come back.
Because of the notice deadlines, March would be unavailable because we're past the notice deadline. So it would be the April 13th hearing. You'd have to renotice through the mailed notice again, and you would have a sign posting fee that's like it's $107.50, but that way you wouldn't pay the full fee again.
Okay,
Like if you came back in 6 months, you would end up having to pay the full application fee.
Well, I'm fine with that then. Make sure
You want,
you're
yeah.
correct. Yes.
I
Yes, sir.
think, why don't you, just measure twice, cut
Yeah.
once kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right, let's do that. So if you have no objections, let's continue this to the April
13th.
April 13th hearing. We'll be right back here, 9 a.m. on April 13th.
All right. Thank
Provided you do all the notice and work with Colleen on the requirements.
All right. Well, thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, with that, this item is continued. Ms. Marshall, we're ready for the next item.
Next item is item H2, variance 260247. The applicant is Livin L. Hernandez. The request is a variance to fence requirements and variance to accessory structure requirements and lot development standards. Staff findings will be presented by Carol Ann Peddle.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Carol Ann Peddle, Development Services. Again, this is variance 260247. The applicant is requesting variances to the fence requirements and accessory structure standards. Per LDC Section 60702C1B and 60101, for corner lots, fences up to 6 feet in height shall be allowed within one front yard, which functions as a side yard, provided the fence is located no more than 10 feet into the required front yard as measured from the rear line of the front yard. A minimum 25-foot front yard setback is required in the RSC 6 zoning district. Therefore, a minimum 15-foot front yard setback is permitted for a 6-foot high fence within the front yard functioning as a side yard. The applicant is requesting a 13-foot variance to allow the existing 6-foot tall fence to remain in the front yard with a setback of 2 feet for the front yard functioning as a side yard. Per LDC Section 61104C4 and 60101, on any corner lot, no part of any accessory structure shall be located in the required front yard, except for where one front yard functions as a side yard. On these lots, accessory structures shall be permitted to intrude up to 10 feet into the required front yard functioning as a side yard. The intrusion is measured from the required yard line toward the street. A minimum 25-foot front yard setback is required in the RSC 6 zoning district. Therefore, a minimum 15-foot front yard is permitted for an accessory structure within the front yard functioning as a side yard. The applicant is requesting a 9.5-foot variance to allow the existing accessory structure to remain at the front yard setback of 5.5 feet for the front yard functioning as a side yard. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. I think it's
Thank you.
pretty clear, straightforward. Thank you. At this point in time, the applicant.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Leo Hernandez. I'm here to talk about 6902 Shady Place. That's my property. Like she stated, I want to ask for a variance for a fence on the side. Well, it's considered front because it's gone a lot, but it's really on the side of the property. Also in a structure, small structure that I built there. And I want to ask a variance to be closer to the beginning of the property there. The variance, if allowed, it would not, the structure, the way it's built and the fence, it should not impact any neighbor. I haven't received any complaints from my neighbors close by there. The structure was built with inspections and everything. We passed inspections. Towards the end, when we were gonna do the final inspection for the structure, that's when one of the representatives from the city said, hey, I think you are not in the correct location because your property being a corner lot. So that's when this came about. So I contact the city, in this case, really the county, and they explain, well, yes, there is this limitation for your property because it's a corner lot, which I wasn't aware of at the time. So you will have to apply for the variance if you want to keep that structure and fence in place. So I applied as such. I mean, I got some pictures here. I can see it's all the way to the back of the property. It's on the corner. It should not, have any issue for anybody because it's all the way in the back to the corner or east side of it. The structure is built, properly. As I said, I've passed all the inspection. And that is really the only location in my property that I feel like I can take advantage of building a small structure like that one. I have my bicycles there. I have my a small half bathroom that I built in there as well. For us, when we are outside in the pool area or things like that, we don't have to go inside the house to go to the bathroom. It's just a half bath. And like I said, pass all the inspections. I believe it should not, be an issue with anybody.
Okay. Anything else?
Like I said, I have some pictures in here if you want to see it of the property. So this is front up. You can show. Thanks, man. Oh. Okay.
Good morning.
All right, so this is the structure here, if you can see it, and this is the fence. Perfect, thank you so much. So yeah, this is the fence right here. This is the structure. It's a small, it's 12 by 8. So it's,
I'm sorry, sir, can you speak into the microphone?
oh, I'm sorry.
You can
So
put the
it's a
microphone
very small structure like you see. It's about 96 square feet. And it's on the back of the property to the side, to the east side. Should not have an impact on any of the neighbors. Also, in here, this is the half bath that it was built inside the in there. So as you can see, it's just a half bath. There's no shower or anything like that. And then this is one more picture, and this is from when you coming into the property on the side. You can see it there. The fence is right next to it. So that's what we're asking for.
Okay.
Like I mentioned, I don't think it will impact anybody negatively. So we're hoping to have this approved by you guys, and that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, no, not a problem.
At this point in time, is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak in support of the application? See no one responding. Anyone in the audience wish to speak in opposition to the application? See no one responding. Staff, there were items submitted into the record from adjacent, well, I don't know if exactly adjacent property owners, but property owners in the community. Did you have a chance to look at those comments?
Not specifically. I know there was 5 party of record emails.
All right, is the staff
We have
planner?
someone online in opposition. Are you able to hear them?
No.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay.
Okay.
Should I go ahead and speak?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay,
State your name and address for the record first.
Sure. My name's Julie Hurst. My address is 6743 12 Oaks Boulevard, Tampa, Florida, 33634.
Okay.
I would like to express my opposition to possibly granting the variance sought by the homeowner at 6902 Shady Place, Tampa, Florida, 33634. I also represent the 12 Oaks Special District. We as a community are opposed to granting this variance because doing so in this case will create a precedent, thereby emboldening other homeowners to illegally build tiny houses and other structures that were not permitted legally, and to ask for forgiveness after the fact. It's also, the setback is from personal experience. My husband and I were interested in building a pool cage at our previous residence on Clearview Drive. And the contractor at that time said that he couldn't do the work because it would be within that setback. And I just hope that, like, people that are actually playing by the rules, trying to get things permitted and do things legally, that, you know, you realize after the fact that perhaps I should have just, for forgiveness. Hello, can you not hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. And instead of, we were told by I was told by our special projects manager that this work was not permitted, that she had approached the homeowner and told him that, and he had said, just mind your own business. So it's news to us that it was permitted because there was no sign up or anything that was done. I'm also a certified residential appraiser for the state of Florida. In the case of doing an inspection, doing an inspection for a home for an appraisal with this sort of where additions are done illegally, we are to alert the county immediately. I don't know if this is working. Anyhow, as a representative of the 12 Oaks Special District, we urge you to not grant this variance because it will set a terrible precedent within our neighborhood.
All right, ma'am,
Thank you.
I think I do have your entire testimony. There was a little bit of lag between some of your sentences and words, but I think we got it all.
Well, I had more to say, but it's disturbing, like if you're constantly hearing something about inputting your code or whatever. I mean, I have more to say if I have time.
Ma'am, please proceed if you have more to say. You have 15
Okay.
minutes.
All right.
Well, there may be
Okay.
some others online that want to speak.
Oh,
but-
okay. If there are others online, they can please go forward.
Okay. Well, let me
I
ask-
just, again, I urge you to be fair to all the law-abiding homeowners in our neighborhood. And additionally, the contractor who performed this work at minimum should be fined and have his or her license revoked. Once again, I urge you not to grant the application for a variance because it will create a terrible precedent in 12 months. Thank you for your consideration.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, is there anyone else online that wishes to speak in opposition? Okay, I see no one responding. All right, ma'am, so I guess you're the rep. We got your testimony on record. Thank you. All right, if I could, Ms. Marshall or staff rep that wrote the report, there is evidence in the file that the applicant was cited by code enforcement in July, and we're now sitting in February and told that they weren't meeting the setbacks, they're in violation, and testimony by the applicant is that he's now completed the the building. He's passed final inspections. I guess he's waiting for the variance to get his final approval permits. Does that sound like that's an accurate, sort of depiction of the events?
Yes, the code compliance case was cited in July of last year. I don't see a permit in, but I did confirm with permitting staff, if for an accessory structure that's under 150 square feet, there isn't a permit required, but it is required to meet code requirements. So the required setbacks and the height. I believe that there would be a requirement for a permit for the installation of the bathroom, but I don't see one in the system under that.
Well, that's helpful.
Folio.
That helps, thanks. All right. All right, at this point in time, the applicant has an opportunity for rebuttal.
Actually, I'm sorry. I just want to add one thing. So, I saw there was an electrical permit, but then when I went back in, the description of the work does say adding a small half bath to the shed. That is currently in process. It hasn't been approved, but it is in process.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, sir?
Yeah, I would like to clarify what's going on in there. So, like I mentioned, it's a small property. It's a 96 square feet. The requirement is you only need a permit after 150 square feet. That's why I started building this structure, thinking, hey, I'm legal, I'm good. I didn't even think of the setback. That's my bad. But nobody brought up the setback until the final, Now, somebody came around, saw the building, and first of all, I'm sorry, I don't know. Nobody approached me to say anything, and I didn't say, mind your business. Nobody approached me. Okay? People that were helping me, that were approached, but they say, okay, whatever. It's not it's not their structure. It's not their house. But anyway, with regard to the permit, 96 square feet, you don't need a permit for that. Now, once I put electrical and a bathroom, that's when the law enforcement person that came about said, well, look, now I understand you don't need a permit, but because you have electrical and bathroom, then you need a trade permit, okay? So that's what I did. I followed that direction. If you look at the dates, I think he put a fine for us, like early July. 2 days later, I got my my permit open. Okay, and then when I passed all my inspections, when we came to final, that's when this happened about the setback and all that. But I follow so far everything that I've been told. Again, 96 square feet is not it doesn't require a permit. That's what I was doing. In my mind, I was doing it right. Yeah. The intent was not to, get away with it. That was not the intent. Yeah. The intent was, hey, it's a 96 square feet. I'm gonna do my shed, and that's it. Okay. And then when I found, hey, you have to do more, I did more.
Okay. All right, got it.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, with that concludes this application. Ms. Marshall, we're ready for the next item.
Next item is item H3, variance 260256. The applicant is George E. Davis III. The request is a variance to lot development standards, and staff findings will be presented by Michelle Montalbano.
Good morning, Michelle Montalbano, Development Services. The applicant is requesting a variance to the minimum side setback permitted for mechanical equipment and a variance to the side yard setback for an existing single-family residence. Per LDC Section 60103I3, mechanical equipment, including generators, may project 3 feet or no more than 50% of the required side yards, whichever is more restrictive. PD 98-1513 requires a minimum side yard setback of 7 feet. Therefore, a minimum setback of 4 feet is required for mechanical equipment. The variance requested is for 1 foot, resulting in a 3-foot side yard setback for mechanical equipment. Also, a minimum 7-foot side yard setback is required in the PD 98-1513 zoning district. The variance requested is for 0.21 feet, resulting in a 6.79-foot side yard building setback. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, applicant, please.
Yes, hi.
Good morning.
Hi, morning. George Davis, 715 Pinckney Drive, Apollo Beach. So this home was built in 2021. I purchased it this past summer. The only thing it didn't have was a whole house generator. In going through the process of contracting to get a generator, we realized that the home is actually built a little bit off-center. I think I was a home builder up in Cleveland, so I know how it happens, when they're putting the foundation and they just make a little mistake. So that was existing. Also, I think all of that subdivision in Apollo Beach, if you have 7-foot side yards, you're technically in violation because the existing equipment, as you can see the pictures, those metal bases that the equipment's set on are 48 inches,
Right.
And they're attached to the house. So my existing air conditioners, my existing pool equipment, they all are in violation. And this generator actually will extend less than those. The generator has to be 18 inches off the house for safety, and then the generator itself is 25 inches deep. So that is what, 43 inches off the house for the generator, whereas the air conditioner is 48 inches, and so is the pool equipment. So I'm here asking for a variance for all the existing equipment and for the house, and then also hoping to be granted the variance for the whole house generator. The homes in that area are very expensive, and now that hurricanes do tend to hit Tampa, which they didn't, it's for asset preservation. I think we all know that if power's out for any more than a couple of days, mold can and will grow. So I'm asking for that variance.
Okay. Very good, no questions. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak in support of the application? See no one responding. Anyone in the audience wish to speak in opposition to the application? See no one responding. Staff, anything further?
Nothing further. Thank you.
Okay. No need for rebuttal, sir? You good? Yes, thank you. All right, very good. With that concludes this application. Is Marshall ready for next item?
Next item is item H5, variance 260321. The applicant is Yessi Mar Enterprises Corporation. Request is a variance to minimum lot area requirements, and I'll present the staff findings. The applicant seeks a variance to include the area of shared driveway access easements in the total lot area for proposed single-family subdivision zoned RSE 6. LDC section 60103N requires each lot meeting the minimum square footage required by its zoning district, 7,000 square feet per lot, and does not allow privately owned access easements to be included in calculating compliance with the minimum lot area. The applicant seeks to include the shared driveway access easements in the lot area calculation, which would allow the proposed lots to meet the minimum size requirement. Happy to answer any questions.
usually like to know the answer to a question before I ask it, but here's the question, is that this is for 4 different lots. And
Correct.
typically, we can focus on one property owner, one property, and look at their hardship and make a determination on that issue. Right now, this is a vacant piece of land. They wanted to divide it up in some manner to create 4 different homes with 4 different driveways.
Correct.
It feels like it should be something other than a variance, that it should be a planned development or have conditions. And is there any sort of policy that you follow with respect to meeting with an applicant, like in a pre-app environment, and guide them in what direction they should proceed?
We have, for rezoning requests, we have a form that they can fill out for additional information, and then if it warrants a meeting, we have a meeting. We don't have scheduled pre-submittal meetings.
Right.
Or
Okay. Okay. All right. The other part to this is the applicant is saying that the reason where they're going to these shared driveways is because the county said that they can't get an individual driveway for each of the 4 lots. I didn't see any letter in the file from the county saying that.
I can see if I can get transportation to join us virtually,
Okay.
so that they can speak to that after the applicant.
All right, if you could, thank you. All right. At this point in time, the applicant? All right, is the applicant for variance 26-0321, are they online, perhaps? All right, Ms. Marshall.
I do not have them signed up online. I did email them with the meeting link, but they haven't responded.
Is this for the Home 2 Suites in Riverview Hotel Investment Group?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's on Livingston Avenue.
I see in the virtual attendance list, there was someone from Advanced Engineers listed just attending virtually. I don't know if they're online. Ava Russo.
Okay. Is Advanced Engineering representative online?
I've reached out to Ava, and they have not signed up online.
All right, we have 2 issues here. One is I'd like to speak to transportation staff, and second, I think, how about we do this? We hold this one in abeyance and come back to it at the end of today's hearing and see if the applicant is online?
Sure.
All right, well, let's do that. So we'll hold variance 26-321 in abeyance, and we'll come back and revisit this case at the end of all the agenda items. So at this point in time, Ms. Marshall, if we could go to the next item on this morning's agenda.
Is there any opposition to this?
Sir, the applicant's not here. We're going to wait and see if he shows up, and then at that point in time, we'll get into the case and see who's in support, in opposition. I'm not talking about coming back this afternoon and coming back. There's 4 or 5 more items, and then we'll come back to this one. I hazard a guess, maybe it's an hour at most. All right. All right, next item, please.
Next item is item H6, variance 260345. The applicant is Beth Kulichik. The request is a variance to fence requirements. Staff findings will be provided by Sierra James.
Good morning, Sierra James with Development Services. The applicant is seeking a variance to the required fence standards. Per LDC section 60702, the maximum fence height is 6 feet. The applicant is requesting a variance of 1 foot, resulting in a 7-foot high fence. I'm available for any questions at this time.
No questions, thank you. Okay, the applicant, please.
Morning.
Good morning.
My name is Beth Kalichik. My address is 606 Valley Hill Drive, Brandon, Florida, 33510. I made a short video of the, I don't know. And my variance is a request from 6 feet to 7 feet for the fence.
Just pull them up and
There, some of them are pictures. There's just one that's a video. Yeah.
pause that. Okay. Are you gonna go in order?
I guess just start with the video because the pictures are the same thing.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, and then I'll just hit that one. It's time to go.
Okay. All right, I'll get you set up.
Okay. Thank you. My request for the variance is because my street is on an incline, and with a 6-foot fence, I can see into all the neighbors' properties. They can see into mine, and I can see into the street across from me. And I would prefer a little more privacy and security. And I also had an issue where I was away from my property for almost a year due to a death in the family, and during that period of time I had some people stealing my water and my electricity. So I'd like to have a little more security and safety. And I just took a video to show how much you can see when you just stand in my yard, how far you can see. This one, okay. And that's it.
Okay. If I could just ask, is that 4 feet high and 6 foot high fences are pretty typical in residential neighborhoods? So going to 7 feet is pretty extraordinary. Have you ever considered and balancing and comparing the costs for cameras around the perimeter of your home, like a Ring camera?
Well, it's also because of the incline. The people above me can see into my yard. I can see into the neighbor's yard. I can see across the fence into the people's yard behind me, into the street beyond that.
So is your concern that you don't want to see anybody, or is your concern security?
It's both.
Right.
I don't, if I want to be in the backyard, I would like the privacy of not having people being able to see me or me able to see them. And also the security of having the larger fence would I would think would keep people out, but I just would prefer not having the ability of everyone to look in my yard and me also to look in theirs. I can see right into the neighbors' windows, and if I'm just in my backyard, I don't want to do that, and I don't want to have to look away. I'm more of a very private person, and I want the ability to feel more private in my own space.
Okay. Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
All right. At this point in time, is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak in support of the application?
Do I give?
I see no one responding. Anyone in the audience wish to speak in opposition to the application? I see no one responding. Staff, anything further?
Nothing further.
Okay. And ma'am, any final comments? Any need for rebuttal? Okay, very good. Thank you, ma'am. All right, with that, that concludes this application. Ms. Marshall, ready for the next item?
Next item is item H6 or H7, variance 260379. The applicant is Peter Goins. The request is a variance to lot development standards, and I'll present the staff findings. The applicant is requesting a variance of 37 feet 2 inches to the required front yard setback for a ground-mounted solar panel, resulting in a 12-foot 10-inch front yard setback. A variance of 5.74 feet is also requested to the required side yard setback for a ground-mounted solar panel, resulting in a 9.26 side yard setback. Happy to answer any questions.
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Applicant, please. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Ryan Navales, here for Peter Goins. I'm here regarding variance 26.
Your address for the record, please.
Yeah, I'm sorry. 12207 Shelby Drive, Riverview, for variance 260379. We're here requesting 2 separate variances. The first would be to allow the ground mount in the front yard, reduce the required front setback from 50 feet to 12 feet 10 inches, and reduce the required side yard setback from 15 feet to 9 feet 3 inches. The proposed placement ensures optimal performance and while minimizing any impact on adjacent properties. We believe that this property has unique site conditions where extensive tree shading, existing structures and require vehicle access, preventing installation in typical code-compliant locations. The loss of rights without this variance would be with a strict enforcement of the LDC would effectively prohibit installation of a ground-mounted solar system, depriving the homeowner of a reasonable use of the permitted to other properties in the same zoning district. With this proposed installation, we will comply with all of the required setbacks and adhere to applicable safety standards, minimizing visual and physical impact on neighborhood properties, and not obstructing any access, light, air, or any drainage of adjacent parcels. In conclusion, this property's unique combination of shading, structural layout, and required vehicle access creates a situation where no code-compliant location exists for a ground-mounted solar system. The requested variances would allow for a ground-mounted in front yard and reduce the front yard setback from 50 feet to 12 feet 10 inches, and reduce the side yard setback from 15 feet to 9 feet 3 inches. It would also allow an efficient solar placement while minimizing impact on neighborhood properties, while maintaining compliance with all other LDC requirements, including height, safety, and remaining setbacks. Supporting the goals of the comprehensive plan in preserving neighborhood character and minimizing any impacts on adjacent properties.
Okay, one question, if you could just sort of provide a little bit more testimony on the location selected for the solar panels?
Yeah.
Why that specific location as opposed to anywhere else on the property?
Correct. So basically that location will be to the northwest of the home. The other area that you could feasibly put it would be south of the home. South of the home is where he has his vehicle access to get in and out of the house to the backyard. And in the backyards, he has a garage. He has those massive, extensive, existing trees that have been there for many, many years because it will create a shading for our solar panels and, will lower production a lot. So basically, if you see an aerial picture of the property, that's really the only spot you can put the solar panels at.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
At this point in time, is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak in support of the application? Yes, sir. Please come forward. Good morning.
How are you doing this morning?
Good.
My name's John Adair. I'm the homeowner.
Okay.
Where we're proposing to put this
We need
is
your name and address for the record, please.
John Adair, 12207 Shelby Drive, Riverview, Florida.
Thank you.
The spot that the solar panels we want to use is unusable to me because of my drain field. And with my drain field being there, I can't put a separate access in. By the time we go through all of the setbacks and everything for the side yard that you would still be able to see from the street clearly, so it's not like an eyesore thing, excuse me, it's going to make it unaccessible to me to get back to my back shop where, I work on my kids' cars, my cars, and tinker around with various things. So I have won the neighbor lottery whenever I moved in there in 2024. Both people on either side are amazing. The neighbors across the street, they were great during the hurricane. I don't want to get rid of any of the old oak trees. I've been in Florida my entire life. I love Florida. I don't want to get rid of what's here. Unfortunately, my front tree, it's going to end up coming down because we can't save it because of rot that's growing inside of it, which makes this a perfect spot for solar panels on an inaccessible portion of property that is close to a fence with hopefully that a neighbor that sent a letter, they said they would, so hopefully they're in support of it, but everybody talking to them, they're happy with it. I've had people stop and, hey, who put this in? Why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? And there's some other things with my home that I have to fix through the county that was not presented to me whenever I bought the home.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's a lot of stuff I still have to go forward with. So solar panels would be a huge benefit to my family.
Okay.
I would really appreciate any assistance.
Understood. Thank you, sir.
Anytime.
All right, is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak in support of the application? See no one responding. Anyone in the audience wish to speak in opposition to the application? See no one responding. Staff, anything further?
Nothing further.
Sir, no need for rebuttal? Sir, you good? No need for rebuttal? Okay. All right, with that concludes this application. Ms. Marshall, ready for the next item.
This brings us to section I, special uses. Item I1, special use 260312. The applicant is Azim Saju. The request is a special use for COP alcoholic beverage permit with separation waivers. Jared Folan will provide staff findings after presentation by the applicant.
Good morning. My name is Azim Saju. I represent the Home 2 Suites Hotel by Hilton, located at 9903 Alafaya Preserve Avenue, Riverview, Florida. Part of this, we're requesting a 4C OOP license to serve pre-made beer and wine and alcoholic beverages in our hotel marketplace, which is in essence the gift shop for our guests.
Okay. All right, anything else, sir?
No, sir.
All right. All right, staff?
Thanks. Good morning, Jared Fallon with Development Services. So this is a request for a distance separation waiver for 4 COP alcoholic beverage permit for the sale of beer, wine, and liquor. The wet zoning is sought for a hotel with 13,209 square feet of indoor area. The separation waiver is for residentially zoned property within 250 feet. Residentially zoned property is adjacent to the north, but the building footprint or the wet zone area is 88 feet away. The adjacent is multifamily. This multifamily is gated and is fenced, and there's also a 20-foot buffer between these properties. We have no issues with this application. We are supporting it.
Okay. Is it for COP for sales on and off premises?
It's on permanent premises only.
Only?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's, I don't know why, but I think I saw somewhere in here that it said the other way. So good. So just on
Is it somewhere in there that says that?
I'm sorry. The 4 COP, it allows consumption on premise and also off. You can also do package sales.
Okay. So it is on and off.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it's, to be clear, it's on and off sales. All right. No other questions. Thank you. Okay. At this point in time, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak in support of the application? I see no one responding. Anyone in the audience wish to speak in opposition to the application? There's no one responding. Staff, anything further?
Nothing further.
Okay, and the applicant, opportunity for rebuttal?
No, sir, nothing further from the
Okay.
applicant.
All right, very good. Thank you, sir. All right, with that, that concludes this application, and Ms. Marshall, we're ready for the next item.
Next item is item I2, special use 260357. The applicant is Farandulero Pizzeria LLC, Louis E. Remedios Sr. The request is a 4 COP RX alcoholic beverage permit with separation waivers. I will present the staff findings after presentation by the applicant.
Okay, the applicant, please.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Terry Haley. I reside at 108 Clock Tower Drive, number 160, Brandon, 33510. I'm representing the applicant. The applicant is, make sure I get this one right. Oh, first of all, I will make the comment, I'm about to take this personal. This is my 4th hearing in a row where I've been the last person. I don't know. So is it something about me? I don't know. Okay. I'm going to mess this up, but Farandulero, okay, Italian restaurant. They are seeking a 4 COP RX license, which is the sale of beer, wine, and liquor in conjunction with the restaurant. This requirement requires 51% more food sales over alcohol. Very much they are opening a restaurant to share some of their delicious food with others, and the alcohol is just an amenity to that restaurant. However, in doing so, I am in need of a couple waivers, and they are to do with the distance of residential properties. Code calls for 150 or more feet from residential properties. In our case, the closest property is only 54 feet away, so I'm asking for a somewhat 95-foot variance. Circumstances to support this in favor of our request is that the 2 properties abut to each other, both the back of each property, the back of our center, commercial center, and then the back of this residential property. We are located on a busy intersection of southeast corner of that intersection of Gun Highway and I think it's Hudson Lane in Tampa there. Gun Highway is a very busy highway. Our center is a strip center, been there for quite a number of years, and the separations of the two properties, you have a fence, which keeps it well secured from each other. Also, there's the natural foliage, trees, bushes, and such. There have been other food establishments in previous years within the center. Our operation is totally contained inside. There's no outside. And again, our main priority or our main function is that of a restaurant, and we do not see any negative impacts with this. Another thing would be that those persons living in the residential properties in which we seek the waiver, other than going through the foliage and climbing the fence and such, the natural way to get to the property would, either by foot or by car, would be well in excess of 500, close to even 600 feet. So again, we hope for this request, and we see no immediate negative effects, and I certainly can answer any questions.
Yeah, just one observation. The staff report indicated that there was an AB at this location since 1981. So
the actual location, there were some, it was kind of weird, and research myself and our surveyor, I think there were some people previous time who kind of put the cart before the horse, and they got it. I don't know if maybe they change of heart, change of mind, economics, or what. I don't know.
Okay, so it was never implemented, never used.
Not on this. There is right off the bat. I know there's a Latin market in there that sells, packaged alcohol and such. Okay. But like I say, it was a little confusing, the whole setup of license there in the area. I don't know if it was looser restraints back then or what, but it's kind of showing at this point.
Okay. All right, so the action that I would consider is an approval of this one and rescinding the old one.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
To make it clean.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. At this point in time, is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak in support of the application? Is anyone responding? Anyone in the audience wishes to speak in opposition to the application? No one responding. Staff, anything further?
Staff hasn't done the staff presentation.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Staff, please.
Sure. The applicant's requesting a 4 COP-RX special use alcoholic beverage permit to allow the sale of beer, wine, and liquor for sale and consumption on the permitted premises only in connection with a restaurant. Property zone PD, which allows for the host use in consideration of the proposed wet zoning. I actually just noticed a scrivener's error in the report that I'll correct for you and place a copy in optics. The required distance separation is not 250, it's 150. And the waiver distance therefore would be 92 feet instead of 192 feet. With the same resulting separation of 58 feet.
Right. Okay.
The nearest residentially zoned property is located to the north of the proposed premises. No outdoor areas are proposed for the wet zone area. The residentially zoned property is separated from the proposed wet zone area by a PVC fence, which screens the proposed wet zone area from view. The proposed premises faces south, while the residential building faces east, further reducing visual and functional interaction. The walking distance between the nearest residential property and the premises exceeds 600 feet. Staff finds the proposed wet zoning does not pose significant impacts on the surrounding land uses, and the necessity for the specified distance requirement is negated. And staff finds the proposed 4 COP-RX alcoholic beverage permit to be approvable, subject to one condition. Upon approval of the SUAB 260357, the portion of SUAB 81-0876 within the same legal description area as SUAB 260357 shall be rescinded.
Yeah. And kind of the same question for you is, do you know what type of AB was approved in 1981?
Yeah, it was 2 COPR. So this would be adding the liquor.
Okay. Very good, thank you. Apologize for not recognizing the order of things for this item. But I will repeat, is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak in support of the application? Is anyone responding? Anyone in the audience wishes to speak in opposition to the application? Is no one responding? Staff, anything further?
Nothing further.
All right, applicant opportunity for rebuttal. That's good. All right, with that, that concludes this application. Ms. Marshall, we will return to an item we heard earlier. Excuse me, do we know if the applicant is here?
The applicant is on virtually now.
Okay. Okay, so, and you want to present? I guess you did already, did you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about it, and then we asked about the applicant. Okay, so the applicant, please.
Good morning. Yes, my name is Ava Russo. I am a civil engineer with Advanced Engineering, speaking on behalf of the owner. A variance is being requested to allow for the proposed driveway easement areas.
Ma'am, hold on a second. The clerk had a question?
Need their address for the record.
Address for the record, please.
I apologize. 10009 Gallant Lane in Tampa.
All right, thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Hearing Officer, we also need to be able to see video of the person speaking.
Okay. Ma'am, can you put your camera on?
Sure.
We got it, thanks.
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay.
Again, my name is Ava Russo. I'm one of the civil engineers with Advanced Engineering, speaking on behalf of the owner. A variance is being requested to allow for the proposed driveway easement areas to be included in the total lot area calculation for 4 single-family home subdivision. The property is zoned RSC 6, which requires a minimum lot size of 7,000 square feet per lot. In order to comply with the access spacing requirements on Livingston, the development is proposing 2 shared driveways instead of 4 individual driveways. One shared driveway serving lots 1 and 2, and then another for lots 3 and 4. Each of these would have a 30-foot wide easement. If the easement areas are to be permitted towards the lot size, all 4 lots will then meet the 7,000 square foot requirement. The shared driveway has been intentionally incorporated to minimize the number of access points along Livingston to lessen the overall impact associated with the driveway spacing request. However, due to the inclusion of the shared easements, the net area of the lots falls slightly under the threshold. Therefore, a variance is being requested to allow this. Thank you so much, and I'll take any questions.
Okay, your presentation was slightly different than what I read in the record. You said in your presentation that the shared driveway configuration that's shown on the site plan is to minimize the number of driveways. But in the record, the written justification was that the county, it was suggested that the county would not allow 4 driveways, 1 driveway to each individual lot. Do you have anything in writing from the county transportation staff that states that?
I may have some from the pre-app notes. I do recall the county explaining that 4 individual lots would not be approved, so that's why we went to having the 2. I would have to look back on the pre-app notes to see if I have that in writing.
That's okay. Let me ask staff the same questions. Ms. Marshall, do you have anything from transportation staff?
I have Richard Perez on virtually.
Okay.
He's the executive planner for transportation to speak to that.
Mr. Perez, if you're listening to the conversation, are you familiar with this application, and do you recall whether or not you and your staff had an opinion on number of driveways for this project?
Good morning, Mr. Hearing Officer. This is Richard Perez with the Development Services Transportation Review Section. I am not familiar directly with the site review for this particular project, but I can speak to the classification of Livingston Road, which is an arterial roadway, functional class. It is also in the corridor preservation plan for a future four-laning. To answer your question about number of accesses allowed for development, that is regulated by section 60403I of the Land Development Code, speaking to the number of driveways that would be permitted. This project would not justify having individual accesses from each driveway. So in our review, we would be concerned with not only limiting the number of driveway accesses to Livingston Road, but also the spacing. An arterial roadway would require a minimum of 245 feet spacing. So our review would speak to limiting the number of access points.
Okay. Marshall, maybe I can ask the applicant, if they came in as one site plan, I guess you'd look at it in totality, but if they came in as individual lots, is there there are various levels of site development plan submittals that you can undertake? If you're less than 10 lots, there's a subdivision process with no improvements. The standards change, I think, when you go from one type of review to another type of review.
The driveway spacing would not change, whether it was,
Okay.
2 lots or 4 lots or.
Okay, and could they just carve off one lot at a time?
What?
Come in with one lot this year. I mean, not that the applicant's doing this, but I just want to understand. Then come back next year with another lot, and so on.
Yeah, if they split, the first split of a parent parcel can be done through a certified parcel review. Transportation would still be reviewing that for the driveway spacing. So there, depending on how it was split into two, there may still be a concern with two.
Okay.
And then if they came back for another split, then it would trigger, I believe this is urban service area. Then it would be a platted subdivision review. If it was less than 10 lots and they weren't doing any improvements, it could potentially be a platted no improvements review. If there is improvements, then it would be a full plat.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, for the applicant, the site plan that was submitted, for the record, if you could just walk me through the site plan, because I'm trying to understand how each lot and lot owner independence would occur, and as you know, folks over time want to add sheds, garages, fences, patios, pools.
Understood.
Right, and so this site plan, it's very difficult for me to understand where you have the shared driveway and it looks like there's like a T turnaround taking up their backyards. Could you just walk me through the site plan?
Sure, yeah, so there's 4 individual lots. As you see, 2 shared driveways, so lots 1 and 2 would have a shared driveway with that T turnaround. The homes would include garages, so that would be additional areas for parking.
Okay, where would the garage be located? Inside
so
those building footprints?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
There would be a fence essentially along the outskirts of the entire property, so obviously not through the driveway, the shared driveways. In terms of, a backyard, yes, there would be limited space due to having the shared driveways, but this is essentially the best plan we could come up with maximizing the amount of lots.
So for instance, if a property owner wants to put a fence right down the middle of the driveway, could they do that?
No.
Okay. Okay, and I don't know if it's particularly relevant to the variance, but it may help me when I deliberate. Will there be any kind of HOA documents that go along with this layout? In this
That was
plan?
not discussed. I don't believe so at this time.
Okay. Okay. All right, no further questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak in support of this application? Seeing no one responding, anyone in the audience wishes to speak in opposition to this application?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Henry Stovall. I live at 2507 Ranch Lake Circle. Just for the record, I'm representing all 4 homes that butt up to this property.
Okay.
2503, 2505, and 2509 also. Our main concern with this is the water flows from our area to Livingston. That field right there collects all the water. It has been literally a lake at times. That is our main concern. We've lived there since 1988, and we've seen this many times. We ourselves are not flooded, but our neighbors have got water up to their homes. We're also concerned, we're talking about widening Livingston. We think there's some gas pipe that have been installed along the side, on the east side of Livingston, we'd like to be concerned with. And then the other thing was, they're talking about that driveway thing, and it seems like they're going to sit back the homes further, and I'm understanding that 3 of the homes are going to be 2-story. This is going to be a 2-story home backing up right into my house, and pool and everything, and as the lady said earlier, my privacy's gone. And security also. Also, a fence. Now, I know a 6-foot fence is required or maximum for residential. These are understood to be all rentals, so I would consider that commercial, and I would like an 8-foot fence if this goes through. But let me see here. Also, is this going to be on city water and sewer, or is this going to, all our homes are on septic and wells, and so I just don't want to overdo the area with
Yep.
septics and so forth.
Let me ask staff if they know, because this is a variance, it's not particularly relevant, but it
Okay.
is, right? So
I understand.
let's ask staff if they know.
I just want to put it out there.
Yeah.
And, but like I said, most concern of ours is privacy and the setbacks. Where these setbacks, you seem like you're going to be pushed further and further back toward us. And, but flooding is the main issue here.
Okay.
And I appreciate that.
All right, thank you, sir. Apologize for the delay.
Pardon me?
Apologize
Oh,
for the delay.
that's all right. We appreciate the time.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak in opposition to the application? There's no one responding. Staff, anything further?
Yes, just a few clarifications. So the proposed, the zoning of the lot is RC6. So it would require 25-foot front yard, rear yard, and 7.5-foot side yards. And they will be required to meet that. They're not requesting a variance. The properties in the Tampa service area and splitting the lot into 4 lots does require, they will be required to connect to City of Tampa water and wastewater.
Okay.
The property, the applicant, prior to the variance request, applied for the preliminary plat review, which does also get reviewed by all of the reviewing agencies, including stormwater. So
Okay.
it would be reviewed by stormwater. The project ID is 7728.
Okay.
And in optics, that would allow you to see the
Yes.
the comments
Yeah.
from all the reviewers as well, including transportation.
It's rather unique layout.
Yes.
Okay. Sir, I'll grant you, just briefly, if you have a question, come up to the podium, please.
The only thing I forgot to mention, if this does go through the retention pond
Yeah.
ditches, how are we going to get rid of this
Yes.
water? That was
Yes.
the only thing I forgot to mention. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, at this point in time, the applicant has an opportunity for rebuttal.
Thank you for addressing your concerns, and I'm going to try and answer them best I can. I know it's kind of already discussed the setback. We are meeting the 25-foot front setback, so that's the reason the houses are set back in the location that they are. We will be connecting to city water, as that was mentioned as well. And then in terms of the stormwater, the plan is to have swales along the outskirts of the property, as well as the lot line in between lots 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And that swale would also retain water, and it would then be outfalled to the drainage ditch along Livingston. At this point in time, full stormwater reports and calculations haven't been conducted, but we do plan to retain the water and meet all applicable stormwater requirements for a subdivision. I believe the other concern was regarding privacy.
Well, flooding, not just a generic comment about stormwater. There's a comment about flooding in the neighborhood. Do you have any comment on that statement by?
In terms of flooding in the neighborhood, we would ensure that the design does not make adverse effects and essentially flood other properties, if that's what the concern is. All water that is historically flowing to this property will be maintained and outfalled appropriately. So water will not just be, redirected to neighboring properties.
You've had, besides the driveways coming in, you have these T turnarounds. What's the purpose of those T turnarounds?
So that would allow for cars to back out of their garage and essentially have a turnaround area where they also guest parking and things such as that.
So the garages are facing what direction?
The car would be turning in and facing the west,
So the garages are on the rear of the homes?
the rear side, correct, yeah.
All right. And there's enough turning radius to pull into those garages?
Yep, there is.
Okay. Okay, and in terms of impervious surfaces, what kind of materials will the driveways be made of?
Concrete.
Okay, and are you meeting the building coverage requirements? Whatever the standard is, you can meet those?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, any other question or comment, sorry?
I believe I responded to them all. I know there was privacy or concerns with privacy, and it was mentioned that an 8-foot fence, that is definitely something we can speak about to the owner and see if he's willing to do so, but, I'm sure he will be. He's not trying to cause any hardship for any of his neighbors.
Yeah, well, just for your information, the land development code, the maximum height is 6 feet. So if you're
Okay, then we'll
suggesting
meet that.
that you meet with a neighbor and try to work out something, if you do, you'd have to come back and talk to staff about that.
Okay, understood.
All right? All right, that concludes your comments?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Okay, very good. I think that concludes this item. It does conclude this item, and it concludes to this morning's land use hearing officer hearing. We are adjourned.